Hi, welcome. Today I have set the table just for myself. I have prepared some snacks. I have my candles, I have my notebooks, I have my reading material, and I want to spend the afternoon taking notes, doing some research and studying and reading. I also want to talk a little bit about the works that I have been reading this week. And part of my reading material was a couple of letters by Oscar Wilde while he was in prison. I've also reread his poem, The Ballad of Reading Jail, and I finished The Kill by Émile Zola, La Curée in French, and I also finished His Excellency Eugène Rougon. So two Émile Zolas, and currently I am reading a biography of Arthur Schopenhauer by David Woods, and I am 100 pages in. It's really good. This is a review copy and I'm reading it in Dutch, but it's originally written in English. Very much enjoying that one. And also reading The Golden Bowl by Henry James with the book club. As I was reading yesterday, there was a remark in His Excellency Eugène Rougon about the Franco-Prussian War. And I realized that I don't really know that much about it. And so I want to look into that period in history a little bit today. I also want to read the introduction of The Kill and of His Excellency. So I'm going to read both introductions. I'm going to make notes and then we'll see what we'll do next. But as for next month's reading, because it's almost December, with the book club, we're going to do First Love by Ivan Turgenev. And I am also going to buddy read Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina. This is going to be the second time for me. I love this book and I cannot wait to read it again because I really loved it. And I'm also very, very excited to reread The Toilers of the Sea by Victor Hugo. And this is such a perfect read for winter. So yes, that's one that I will be reading as well. I just finished the two introductions in the books of Émile Zola, and learning more about the Second Empire under Napoleon III is really interesting. Zola said something about to change the world not by judging it, but by understanding it, and I think that's a very beautiful thing to say. I took a lot of notes. Let me share them with you. So the Second Empire was a period in history without its own style in architecture and art. Napoleon III appointed a man named Haussmann and he rebuilt Paris. The Second Empire took place from 1852 until 1870, so it ended with the attack of the Prussians and they won the battle. It was a time of extreme censorship. Workers' rights to strike were completely gone. And it was also in the time period where Baudelaire and Flaubert were prosecuted for their novels, so The Flowers of Evil and Madame Bovary, and the gap between the poor and the rich only grew. And this is something that I already knew. Victor Hugo was strongly against what Napoleon was doing, and when he did his coup d'etat, Hugo tried to raise a rebellion and he was forced to flee to my country, actually Belgium. He went to Brussels and then to the Channel Islands. He went into exile, and while in exile he wrote a pamphlet called Napoléon le Petit, which was strongly against the rule of the emperor. He returned to Paris in 1870 after the fall of the empire. So yes, that's a little background information for you if you decide to read one of Zola's works. Really interesting period. I am going to type out my notes for these novels and then I'm going to read a little bit more. So here is a little bit of background information about the Franco-Prussian War. This was a war fought in 1870 until 1871 between France and Prussia, which was a powerful German kingdom. Prussia wanted to unite all the German states into one big country. France was worried that a stronger Germany next door would make France less powerful. A dispute over who would become King of Spain led to tensions, and a diplomatic message was edited to make France angry. France declared war on Prussia. Prussia and the other German states were very well organized. They defeated France quickly. The French Emperor Napoleon III was captured, and Paris was later surrounded and forced to surrender. Germany united into a single nation called the German Empire in 1871. France had to give up 2 regions and pay a lot of money to Germany, and the defeat caused major political changes in France, leading to the Third Republic. The war changed the balance of power in Europe and created tensions, especially between France and Germany, and this contributed to the conditions leading up to World War I. It just started raining, so I think this is my sign to make a hot cup of tea. I don't have a lot of experience with philosophy yet, but I would like to change that and work on it next year. So far, I have read Plato, Socrates, and Marcus Aurelius, which I think is a good start for anyone who is new to philosophy. This biography of Schopenhauer that I'm reading is so accessible because it combines information about his life, quotes from his work, and it gives you an idea of what he thought about certain topics and about his life. You don't need any background knowledge to dive in. He was a very pessimistic man who couldn't get along with others, and so he lived a very lonely life away from society. He believed there wasn't much to gain from being social. His biggest influences were Kant and Plato, and he had many literary admirers like Leo Tolstoy, Turgenev, Zola, Maupassant, André Gide, Marcel Proust, Thomas Hardy, Joseph Conrad, D.H. Lawrence, Franz Kafka, Hermann Hesse, Thomas Mann, Samuel Beckett, Borges, and so many others. Thank you for spending time with me, and I will see you next week.